Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I'm joined by the amazing Sean Rhodes. Sean, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the amazing part. I haven't heard that before, but yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh no, man! It's seriously my honor to have you here. But before we talk about why you're here,
Oh,
Sean,
thank you.
I would like for the people that don't know you to get to know you a little bit. You absolutely love
Okay.
horror movies and love being a horror collector. You started your YouTube channel
Yes.
last October, correct?
Yes. I mean, I had one previously. I started one a little over a year ago. To basically kind of get started and do a lot of the same thing I'm doing now. I was brand new at it, but about that same time, I went through. My mother passed away. My father got diagnosed with some things, and he was struggling, dementia primarily, and his health went downhill. He had to move in with me, and so I just had to stop. Like life just got too crazy. I couldn't do it. But yeah, last October, life had settled down, and I had missed it the whole time, so I jumped back in. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you did, man. And over on the channel, Sean's Horror Corner, you review movies, occasionally shows. You do things in your collection. Um, so, what gave you the desire to be like, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to do this channel.
I think so. One thing a lot of people don't know about me is that for a long time in my life, I was actually a minister. I used to be a preacher, believe it or not, for about 9 years, and went through some things that totally changed my opinion on organized religion and that kind of thing. But at the same time, my whole life changed because that was what I had always known. That's what I had always, grew up in church. I mean, that's just I didn't know where I fit in at that point once I left ministry. And so, but I loved horror movies. And, just one day I came across, they're my friends now, Brendan and Sam from Our Life in Horror. I came across their podcast. At that point, they were doing a podcast instead of a YouTube channel. And I happened to come across it because I liked listening to podcasts and I started listening to them. And then I found a couple of others that I was listening to, and I thought, you know what? I love talking horror, absolutely love it, and I don't really have anybody that I work with or that kind of thing that loves it as much as I do. I could do something like this. I don't have the equipment to do a podcast, but I have a computer. I could do a YouTube channel, so why not? And I'm that's why I started, and it was mainly just to give me a place to talk about horror.
Mhm. And also, right here, I love Sam and Brendan. They are
Yeah.
amazing. So lucky to be able to call them my friends as well. And I also
Yes.
am ordained. So I
Okay.
wasn't, all the way. I didn't go as far as you. I didn't have my own. I didn't teach the gospel to anybody or anything like that. But
Right.
um, at a young age, I realized how much money it costs to get married. So I decided I would become ordained to try to help out my friends and family and stuff like that. But
Okay.
um, I love the part that, you talk about stumbling across Sam and Brendan and then just, becoming part of this community that we all love so much. And I talked a little bit about the YouTube channel, and you guys can check that out for yourselves by clicking the link down in the description. Make sure you're following Sean on social media. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. Like I said, those links are all in the description, so that way it's a little bit easier for you to find.
Perfect.
But in order for you to do Sean's Horror Corner, Sean, horror had to start for you somewhere. So now, my friend, I would
Right.
like to go back to the past and talk about what
Okay.
got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie.
Okay.
And Sean, the first horror movie you watched was
My Bloody Valentine from 1981.
what an amazing start to your horror life. There's more than one way to lose your
Yeah,
heart, man. So,
that's right.
do you remember about how old you were the first time you had seen it?
Gosh, I was probably 10, 11 years old. Um, I had seen a clip of it. My dad and an aunt that liked horror, and they would watch it occasionally, and I would just see glimpses here and there. But everything at that point in my life, I was scared of absolutely everything, so I really wouldn't sit down and watch anything. But something about a few minutes of that one caught my eye, and late one night I got back up all by myself in the living room and turned on HBO, and My Bloody Valentine was coming on. So yeah, I managed to sit through it and watch it, and actually loved every minute of it instead of getting scared and having nightmares. And that's where it changed. That's the switch, flipped.
The old HBO. the way
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
us were able to see a lot of horror movies back in the day, HBO and Showtime.
yes, absolutely.
So, My Bloody Valentine, not really a very well-known horror movie. So, for you to stumble upon that one as your first, I think is actually pretty amazing. It's pretty significant, and we know you were watching it very young on HBO for the first time. But do you remember which scene it was that affected you the most?
I think the scene that really got me the most was there's a scene in the film where there's a woman that's in a laundromat, and the miner ends up killing her, and then they find her body in a dryer, her heart in a candy box, and her body in a dryer. And something about that, it was gross, but I thought it was just so cool. Something about it just seemed because I had never seen anything like that before. I was like, that's awesome. I had seen clips of Friday the 13th and Halloween's and things like that. I'd never seen the whole movies of any of those, but I'd never seen anything like that. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And then, I mean, there were other scenes as well, but that's the one I think that really jumped out at me, and suddenly horror was cool instead of scary. So yeah,
Sure. And even to this day, a lot of My Bloody Valentine is still so iconic. The Miner, one of the best villains, in my opinion. And it's one of those movies that at the time, especially, no sequel, no nothing for the longest time, this was just a standalone film, and
right.
it was quirky. It was, a lot of it is goofy. There's a lot of goofiness
Yeah,
to the original My Bloody
yeah.
Valentine. Um, we know which scene it was that affected you the most, but what would you say your favorite scene from the film was?
Um, I think my favorite scene there is, once because I love the miner. I completely agree with you. I think he's such an underrated villain. I don't see him pop up in anywhere near as many lists and things as I think he should be, and probably just because it was a standalone movie for so long. But there is a scene where there's a scene where it's some kind of water system. He attacks a girl and basically impales her on this sprinkler set in this room, and the water's like spraying through her, and I absolutely love that scene. It was, yeah, I look forward to it every time I'm watching the movie. I love that scene. So yeah,
And it's crazy how like now you have to splice that scene in because it was part of the uncut version. And
yes,
when you have the water coming out through her mouth,
her mouth,
that's
right?
still to this day such an iconic scene. And
Yeah,
um another thing I really love about this movie is it feels like a bunch of real people. You know what I mean? Like
right,
this doesn't feel like you're watching a bunch of actors. This feels like a bunch of real people that are just on, hanging out, doing their jobs, and working in a mine shaft. The way that they're running around and pantsing each other, and
right,
just being super goofy with each other. So a lot of that
yeah,
I think still holds up. Like there's still a lot of that a lot of guys today are still goofy and do some silly shit like that. So when
right.
you're watching, and if not now, we all grew up with dudes that we could watch this movie and be like, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's definitely that guy.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
you talked about two kills already.
Yeah.
We talked about the laundromat, we talked about the head in the sprinkler. As horror fans, we live vicariously through the kills.
Mhm.
We love the kills. Which kill of the film would you say is your absolute favorite?
Um, Gosh, that's tough. It's either that sprinkler kill or there is another one that I really like that actually is at the very beginning of the film. Because I think it's just to me it's iconic. And again, I realize the movie is not as well known, but the opening scene of the film where we get the miner, and he's got a woman in there and they're making out, and he sees the heart tattoo on her chest and
Yeah,
ends up
baby.
ramming her into the pickaxe. I love that scene. It's such an iconic scene to me, one of the greatest scenes in slasher movie history as far as I'm concerned. So yeah,
And what a way to start off your carnage.
yes, I
You know,
agree.
like that is a perfect way to start the carnage of this film. Um, a lot of times when I talk about someone's first horror movie, I usually ask them like, would you like to see your first horror movie remade today? Well, My Bloody Valentine did get a remake, and it's getting another reboot with Blumhouse. It is in the works right now. So let's go in chronological order
Right.
here. One, were you a fan of the first remake that they did?
Um, I was. I didn't think it was anywhere close to the original, but I did like it. Especially the first time I saw it, because I had wanted something else for so long where my Bloody Valentine was concerned,
Mhm.
and um, I didn't think they did a terrible job with it. So yeah, I liked it. Rewatching it now, yeah, I still like it. But every time I watch it, I'm like, this is not the original. But yeah, it's fine.
Right. It is fun though. Like, yeah, I agree with
Yeah,
you.
it
It
is
is
fun.
fun. And I like that they made it enough of their own to where you really do feel like you're getting two different two completely different watches when you watch the original and then you watch the remake.
Right.
They're separate
Yeah.
enough in their worlds that you can feel like you're getting two separate films when you're watching these two. There's not enough ripped
Right.
off of the original that the remake doesn't stand on its own. So, and then what are your expectations of the upcoming Blumhouse remake?
I really just want to see. I want it to still pay tribute to that original somehow. Just throw a few things in there, some little Easter eggs or something to pay tribute to that original. But at the same time, do give us your own spin as well. Let's make it a little bit different at the same time than what we've already seen from a previous remake. Let's
Sure.
put a new twist in there. Let's pay a little bit of tribute, and let's not. Please don't be PG-13. This slasher movies don't work at PG-13. So please let's do it the right way. Us diehard slasher fans, we want those R ratings. We want to see what happens. So yeah, that's what I would like to see.
And I totally agree with you. I think that PG horror can be just fine. Um, like I'm looking at The Ring. I'm looking at
Right.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose. You know, these movies that are PG-13 horror movies, they work just fine. Those aren't slasher films. And I
Right.
think that the biggest part that we need to remember is when you're trying to do a slasher, PG-13, like you said, really doesn't work. It's hard to make
It doesn't.
PG-13 work. And for the love of God, please don't do it in 3D again. I hate 3D horror
Yeah.
movies. I,
Yeah,
I
we don't need
it's
3D.
not for me. And I just feel like it doesn't. It's as much as I don't like 3D anyway. When you watch it later on, it really doesn't hold up with the effects.
Yeah.
So let's just
Right.
let's keep that out of there.
Yeah, we
Um,
don't need that. I think I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of 3D horror, although I will say, and I think it's more of a nostalgia thing because it doesn't look good. It's more funny than it is scary. But I will, I do still have a small appreciation for Friday the 13th 3. So silly, looks so bad, but it's just so funny to me. I still appreciate it. So yeah,
But I think that the difference between those two is the things they did for 3D in Friday the 13th Part 3 has very little to do with special effects and more to do with like someone coming at you with an eyeball or a
right.
yo-yo or passing you a joint. You know, it's not like
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
pickaxe coming right at your face. You know, it has little to do with
Right.
the special effects as it does goofy, wonky shit. And I think that's why that holds
Yeah.
up because I'm with you. I love Friday the 13th 3. I think that so much of
Yeah.
that movie holds up and I think that's why, in my opinion, it's not throwing something at your face and having the audience go, it's
Right.
just goofy shit that's coming
Yeah,
at you. The
I
only time
agree.
it really works is when you get the arrow that shot at Vera, the spear, and it's
Yes.
still even
Yes.
then, it's still practically done, so it still holds up well when you
Right.
look at it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree.
we know how horror started for you with My Bloody Valentine. Your
Mhm.
expectations of the upcoming remake, requel, sequel, whatever the hell they're going to do with it. But
Right.
here for a second, my little buddy Ghostface is here, and he has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Sean? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Um, that's so so funny. Because in all honesty, my favorite one, and I think it's because as I was becoming a horror fan more and more all the time, once that original Scream came out in '96, it just changed everything for me. I love the Halloween franchise. I love Friday the 13th. I love A Nightmare on Elm Street. There's so many out there, especially slashers, because I'm a slasher guy, that I really, really love. And they all, can have a battle for number two. But there was something about that first Scream thing that just turned my love of horror up to another level. And to this day, it's still the best as far as I'm concerned.
I couldn't agree more. While it's not my favorite horror movie, I think that it still holds up so well because of how original, unique, and amazing it is.
Yeah,
It started something. Like it
right.
clearly did something that nobody else up until that point. I mean, you can make the argument of, Friday the 13th Part 6 did a lot of the meta shit. And then
Sure.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare, obviously, dove headfirst into meta, but none of them created that original IP like Scream did and was so cool and hip with what it was
Yeah,
doing. So I think
I
that's why
completely
Scream
agree.
still holds up today, almost
Right.
20 years, 30 years later.
Yeah,
Holy shit, we're old, dude.
I know we
Um,
are.
yeah, I remember seeing that in cinema too, but
Yeah,
it's still one of those movies that is just it's special because it was lightning in a bottle, you
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
It came out when horror was, I hate to say this, but horror was really on, it was dying.
Yeah,
You look at the movies that were
absolutely.
coming out 93, 94, 95, and then the movies that came out in 97, 98, 99. Scream saved it. Whether you
Yeah,
love or hate Scream, you can't deny that Scream saved the horror genre. So, Mr. Wes
yeah, I
Craven,
completely agree.
Evan Williamson, thank you for what
Yeah,
you did. Um,
right.
so yeah, and Scream can't go wrong. But Sean, obviously I love talking horror and I love talking Scream. So one question I do have for you, at the time of recording, we know we got Scream 7 coming up. Something that a lot of people are loving. Some people are very, very against this movie. But the one
Yeah.
question I have for you is Stu Macher dead or alive?
I want to believe that he is alive. I really do, because I absolutely love the Stu character, and I'm one of those that has been wanting him to come back for a while. Um, if he was the only person coming back, then I would still believe that he's alive. But there's too many people coming back for me to believe that at this point. I have a feeling this is going to be Ghost, similar to, like, the Billy Loomis character in the last one, where his daughter was seeing him. I think Sydney's going to be seeing ghosts, and that's where we're going to come in with some of these characters that are coming back, because there's too many. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's still alive, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
I Where I will disagree with you, I do not. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I would love to see Stu Macher come back. I love Matthew Lillard. I love Stu's character. However, it's been too long. You're gonna tell me that in all these years, no one's thought, "Hey, there's another ghost face. Maybe we should try to contact that Stu Macher guy," or
Right?
something like that. Um, my personal belief, I don't know anything about the movie. Obviously, I don't
Yeah.
have any background information. I don't know anything about the writing process or anything like that. I firmly believe this movie is going to be about the impact of AI right now in Hollywood, and I think that Stu is going to be just like um, how Dewey's coming back, how Roman's coming back for
Right.
this film. I think it's going to be about AI, and somebody's using
Okay.
AI to hunt down Sydney. Um, for those of you that have heard this before, I'm
Okay.
sorry, but if you watch the Sledgehammer Horror Scream 7 predictions, I said that I predicted the movie. I said Scream part five cream, whatever you want to call it, was essentially a remake
Mhm.
of Scream. Scream 6 was essentially a remake of Scream
Sure.
2, and Scream 7 could go the Scream 3 route of the voice changer, but use AI instead of a voice changer. And I feel like the movie would have a huge impact if the movie started with Gail getting a call at the studio that she's at live on air, and it's Dewey on the phone. It's Dewey's voice with AI.
Yeah.
Why weren't you there for me, Gail? Why didn't you save me? Boom, Scream 7. So
Yeah.
that's in
Yeah.
my
Absolutely. That'd be an
opinion,
amazing
you
way to
know,
start it. Yeah.
have AI come and the something that's real right now. Because when
Right.
people were talking about the voice box in Scream 7 or Scream 3, I apologize. It was, that's technology isn't real, that doesn't happen. AI is very real now. And so
Sure.
something like that absolutely could take place. So what would you like to see happen if you're sitting at that writing chair with Kevin Williamson and the guys and you're throwing ideas out there? What's one idea you would like to see for Scream 7?
Um, it probably won't be a popular opinion. I'm glad we've got Sydney back. To be honest with you, I miss Sydney in the last couple. I mean, I think they've been fine, but I miss Sydney, so I'm glad she's back. I am curious what we're going to do with some things, but I think it's time for Gail to go. Um, I think that character's lost her purpose. She's retorted back to the way she was in the beginning, and it kind of makes no sense to me why she's gone that route. And so I think it's time for her to go. And I think it ought to be the opening kill. I think that ought to be the way this starts, and that can be what brings Sydney back. But I think it's time for Gail to go, and she ought to go first. So yeah, that's what I would like to see.
I can see that. I really thought that she should have been, we had a perfect chance for her in Scream 6 to
Yeah,
go, and that didn't happen. So, um, I wouldn't be upset about that. And I think that'd be another good way to bring Sydney back into the fold.
sure,
Why else would Sydney come back? But they
right,
finally got to Gale, so I think that could
yeah,
work too. So, man, I've had an amazing time talking about Scream and talking about My Bloody Valentine and everything in between.
yeah.
But before I let you go, Sean, we always bounce back to the same question. We're going to go
Sure.
back to the original My Bloody Valentine, and what
Okay,
we're going to do is rank this movie on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking this on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. We're not being critics. What we're doing here, Sean, is
okay,
ranking this movie on how much it affected you on your first viewing. So, zero skulls being not effective, five being
okay.
extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. Sean, what would your ranking of My Bloody Valentine be?
Honestly, it's pretty easy for me, and for the way it affected me, it would be the Five Skulls because it
Mm-hmm.
is what changed everything for me. It made as a kid, I was into superheroes. That was my favorite thing, and that's what I always wanted to watch. And My Bloody Valentine changed that. I wanted to watch horror. I wanted to go back and see all of the Friday the 13th and the Halloweens and those things, Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I had never watched before because I was too afraid of it. I wanted to go back and catch up and see everything because of My Bloody Valentine. Like it started it all for me. So it's definitely a five.
Sure. And I think that, especially like you said, if you had not seen My Bloody Valentine at that time, you may not be the horror fan that you are today.
Oh, I completely
You know,
agree.
so it definitely had that type of impact on you. Sean's Horror Corner might not be a thing were it not for My
Right.
Bloody Valentine. So
Yeah,
totally
that's very
understand
true.
and respect that. I know I said it at the beginning, guys, but we're at the end of the third act. The credits are about to roll and the curtain's about to drop. But before that happens, make sure you're subscribing to Sean's Horror Corner and following Sean on social media. Those links are down in the description. Um, Sean, please don't go anywhere, my friend. I do have a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
Everyone else, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Those links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.